Let's be honest, learning how to talk to people just doesn't cut it. Today, we're going deeper. We are building a complete toolkit grounded in real psychology to truly master the art of human connection. By the end of our time here, you're going to have the framework to become what we call a social architect, someone who can actually intentionally design and build genuine rapport in absolutely any situation. Okay, let's start with a scene that I think we all know a little too well. Picture this. You're in an elevator, the doors slide shut, and then crickets. Just nothing. You've got a few people staring at their phones, looking anywhere but at each other. You know that feeling, right? That classic blood-curdling awkward silence. The air is so thick you could cut it with a knife, and everyone is thinking the exact same thing. I wish someone would just say something. So how do we become the person who breaks that silence? Well, here's our roadmap. This is how we're going to get you to be that social architect. First, we're going to uncover the invisible forces that shape our interactions. Then, we'll get into mastering the first impression. From there, we'll learn the incredible art of speaking their language. And finally, we'll build the skills for advanced social architecture, the stuff that really defines true social leaders. All right, let's dive right into part one, the invisible forces. Look, if you want to build anything, you first have to understand the materials you're working with, right? In social dynamics, those materials are the unseen psychological principles that are at play every single time we connect with another person. These are the powerful undercurrents that guide our entire social world. And that brings us to our first and maybe most important core concept, mirrored reciprocation. Now think back to that silent elevator. If just one person breaks that tension with a simple, warm comment, the entire energy in that little box shifts. Why does that happen? Because our brains are literally, physically wired with something called mirror neurons, and they are designed to reflect the behavior that we receive. This is a fundamental law of social physics. So if you want warmth, if you want engagement, you can't just sit back and wait for it to happen. You have to create it. And you do that by going first and going positive. But going first requires a really solid inner foundation. And to build that, we need to understand the difference between self-confidence and self-esteem. They sound similar, but they're not the same thing. Self-confidence, that's a skill. It's built through practice, just like learning to drive a car. The more you socialize, the more confident you'll feel doing it. Simple as that. Self-esteem, on the other hand, is your internal self-view. It's that critical inner voice that makes you go home after a party and just replay every single conversation, worrying if you said something stupid. Building self-confidence helps you act in the moment, but nurturing your self-esteem is what quiets that negative voice afterward. And all of this leads to one of the most powerful mental shifts you can possibly make. You know that pressure we all feel socially? It comes from trying to perform, from trying so hard to be witty and charming and oh so interesting. The secret is to just flip that script entirely. Stop trying to be interesting, and instead, focus all your energy on being interested. The moment you let genuine curiosity guide you, all that pressure on you just vanishes. And bonus, the other person feels truly seen and valued. Okay, that brings us to part two, mastering the first impression. Our primal brain, the one that's been around for thousands of years, makes a friend or foe judgment in less than a second. Seriously, it's that fast. Long before we've said a single word. So let's get tactical and focus on how to communicate trust, safety, and warmth completely nonverbally. Your body is constantly broadcasting signals, whether you realize it or not. To send a clear friend signal, you need to focus on these three non-negotiables. First, an open torso. This exposes your vital organs, which is a super deep-seated evolutionary signal of trust. So no crossed arms, no holding a drink in front of your chest like a shield. Second, visible hands. Our brains are wired to see hidden hands as a potential threat, so keep them out of your pockets. And third, direct eye contact. This signals you're engaged and you're sincere. If you can master these three things, you're broadcasting safety before you even open your mouth. Now for a real pro-level technique. I love this one. It's called the delayed smile. See, most of us use an instant automatic smile. It's polite, sure, but it's totally forgettable. So instead, I want you to try this. First, make eye contact. Then, pause for just a beat as you really take them in. Then, let a big, warm, genuine smile flood your face. That tiny delay, that split second, communicates that the smile is authentic and, more importantly, that it's specifically for them. It is incredibly powerful. Okay, so you've approached, you've got that warm, open body language, you've even used the delayed smile. Now, what do you actually say? First off, let's agree to forget the boring, plain toast questions like, how are you, or what do you do? We're going to use a simple three-word phrase that changes everything. It's a bridge that takes you from just an observation to a real conversation. And that phrase is, I bet that. Let's see how this works. A boring compliment is, nice shoes. It's fine, but it's a dead end. Where does the conversation go from there? A magnetic observation, using our phrase, is something like, I bet those shoes could survive a zombie apocalypse. Why does this work so well? Because it combines a specific detail with playful exaggeration. You're creating this little mini story that just invites them to play along. It immediately sparks a real conversation and completely removes all the pressure of a formal introduction. This is the perfect lead-in to part 3, speaking their language. So you've opened the door. Now the real art begins. This is about adapting your style to connect deeply with the unique person standing right in front of you. This is where we move way beyond a one-size-fits-all approach to communication. So many people tell me they hate small talk, but it serves a really crucial purpose. I want you to think of it as conversation foreplay. With your best friends, you can jump right into the deep, meaningful topics. They're like microwaves. You're ready to go instantly. But strangers and new acquaintances, they're like ovens. They need about 10 minutes of preheating with some light topics to really warm up and feel comfortable. Small talk is that preheating process. It's essential. So how do you preheat that conversational oven without it feeling forced? The technique is called finding a shared mystery. Instead of trying to pull a topic out of thin air, just use your environment. For example, if you're at a bar, you could lean over to the person next to you and ask, okay, I can't figure it out. Are those jellyfish or octopuses on the bartender's shirt? And instantly, you're not two strangers anymore. You're two detectives on a fun, low-stakes mission. You've created a playful week. Now let's get into a more advanced tool for adaptation, the 4-color communication system. I want you to think of people as vessels, all of different shapes and sizes. To truly connect, you can't be a rigid block trying to force your way in. You have to be like water, adapting to the shape of their specific vessel. This framework is all about understanding what truly drives them, what makes them tick. So, you're probably wondering, how on earth do you figure out someone's color? It's actually way simpler than it sounds. You just need to ask yourself 2 key questions about them. Let's walk through this together. First question, are they more of an extrovert, someone who gets their energy from being around people? Or are they more of an introvert, someone who needs that alone time to recharge? Just answering that one question cuts your options in half. So, say you've pegged them as an extrovert. Boom. They're either a red or a yellow. Now for question number 2. Are they more logical, all about the facts and data, or are they more emotional, focusing on people and feelings? So, if our extrovert from before is also super logical, well, you're almost certainly talking to a red. See? It's a really quick but incredibly powerful little diagnostic tool you can use anywhere. Let's break down exactly how to speak each of these languages. First up, the reds. Reds are driven by results and power. Their core question is always, what's the bottom line? So when you're talking to them, get straight to it. Skip the long, fluffy stories. They respect decisiveness and clarity more than anything. Give them the key takeaways first, then your recommendation. Whatever you do, don't waste their time. Next up, we have the yellows. These are the people driven by fun and connection. Their big question is, who else is involved? So with a yellow, you bring the energy. Be enthusiastic, tell stories, use humor, share big, exciting ideas. They connect through that shared excitement and optimism, not through dry data points and spreadsheets. And now for our greens. Greens are driven by peace and stability. Their core question is, how can we make sure this is safe and reliable? When you're talking to a green, you absolutely must be calm, patient, and supportive. Avoid any sudden changes or high-pressure tactics that will just shut them down. You build trust with a green by moving at a comfortable pace and showing them that you value harmony as much as they do. And finally, we have the blues. Blues are driven by logic and structure. Their question is always, how does this work? A word of advice, never, ever tell a blue, don't worry about the details. They live for the details. To connect with them, you have to be precise, come prepared with data, with facts, and with a clear step-by-step plan. They respect a well-thought-out process above absolutely everything else. This all brings us to our final section, advanced social architecture. Okay, we've laid the foundation. Now we're going to cover the skills that will elevate you from just being a good conversationalist to being a true social leader, someone who inspires deep trust and builds rapport that actually lasts. The very first principle of what we call executive presence is simple. Stop over-explaining. We tend to do this when we're nervous, right? We feel like we need to justify our ideas. But with every weak word, trust erodes. Think about it. True experts rarely say the most. They actually say the least, but every single word they use lands with authority. Brevity signals confidence. This process of building that deep, lasting trust really comes down to 3 parts. First, control your physical presence. Stop fidgeting. All those nervous habits, tapping your pen, bouncing your leg, they just signal anxiety. The leadership coach Layla Hormozi once told an executive to get fake nails, just to physically stop her from her nail-biting habit. It instantly boosted her perceived authority. Second, be a truth teller. Don't shy away from the hard conversations. Real respect is built when you walk toward discomfort, not away from it. And that leads to the third step, building lasting rapport, which is really just the natural outcome of combining that quiet confidence with fearless honesty. Because here's the thing. In the end, people will never remember the exact words you said. They're not going to remember a slight pause you took or a small stumble. What they will remember is the energy. They will remember how you made them feel. Your goal isn't perfection, it's connection. It's about making other people feel comfortable, seen, and understood. And that is the true art of being a social architect. To continue mastering the psychology of connection, make sure you subscribe to PsypherMind.